But I knew that overall that experience would trump it all because you can make more money, you can bartend anytime. But I knew that I wanted to come back in the fall to AmeriCorps to serve again. And I knew that I wanted to go to Vietnam. And I knew that it was something that I felt like I had to do, It's very happy. I'm super, super happy that I did it. I don't regret it at all. I think about it, like I said, all the time. I would tell anybody that they should do it by any means. If you can, you gotta go. Just do something out of your comfort zone because doing it on my own has definitely helped my independence and helped me make new friends and get out of my shell a little bit and ask questions and travel on my own. And even traveling the town on my own, I'd go get a grab bike for $2 and go see the town and go shopping and whatever. And feel safe and comfortable and even have other people there to do it with. I'd say overall, if you're thinking about doing something, but it's maybe a stretch or maybe it might not work out or maybe you might have to change some things around, make it work out, do it. Because the experience is worth everything, in my opinion, because money comes and goes, but experiences are forever, and pictures and people and connections and memories, those stay, and those are the most impactful, in my opinion, to my life.
This podcast series is sponsored by IPSL Global Engagement. And I had no idea about this organization and wish I would have known about them after my service year. Because you can take your AmeriCorps experience international. You can customize social justice-focused master's program in international development and service or community organizing and social activism. You can chart your path to create positive change in the world. Serve and learn with international organizations working to build justice in healthcare, education, human rights, the environment, and more. You can earn a master's that opens countless opportunities, gain the practical skills and community-based development to be an active agent of change. If this is something that's interesting to you and you are an AmeriCorps alum, click down in the description box below and sign up and get some more information today. Thank you, IPSL Global, for supporting the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. We are back with our special series where we are highlighting the IPSL programs where individuals after their AmeriCorps year can leverage their Siegel Education Award to do programming and projects and degrees abroad. So I'm excited to have our next guest with us who did go through the program. And there's a special surprise here because for Paige Blossberg, not only went through an AmeriCorps year and then did an IPSL program, she went back and she's actually in the second term of AmeriCorps. So I want you all to stick around because there's going to be a lot of different angles to this interview. To get started, Paige, how did you find out about AmeriCorps and what made you want to do your first term of service?
My first term of service, I was looking for jobs just on Indeed.com, looking for something different because I was bartending and serving and I didn't want to do the restaurant industry for the rest of my life. I applied to the job thinking it was something good for me. My mom is a teacher and has been for my whole life through kindergarten, first grade, and second grade growing up. And though I'd never been around preschoolers much, I figured it couldn't be too much different and I enjoyed what she did. And after my first year, I loved it and wanted to make the most of it and decided to come back for a second year. Emily reached out to me pretty fast after I applied and said, "Hey, your resume looks great. We want you." And I said, "All right, let's see what happens." Yeah.
Where did you serve?
I'm currently serving in Duluth, and I did last year too. I was at Piedmont Elementary School, and this year I switched between Laura MacArthur and Stowe Elementary School.
And that's in which state?
Minnesota.
So you did your AmeriCorps year and you taught preschoolers.
Yep, preschoolers last year and this year again.
You were doing your service year, and then how did you find out about the IPS or opportunity?
I want to say it was about a year ago, so December, January-ish. My coaching specialist, she was new as of a couple months prior to that. She had said something about traveling abroad and earning college credits. And I said, "Oh my goodness, that sounds
Okay.
great. I want to see
Yeah.
the world. I'm in school, all these good things." And she hooked me up with the program. She sent me the link, and I did some research, and there were plenty of options on locations for me to travel. I chose Vietnam.
Hey, sorry to interrupt this interview, but I wanted to shoot you over to some of the IPSL experts so you can get a better understanding about the program. We'll be right back with this interview, but take a listen. It might be something you're interested if you're an AmeriCorps alum or if you're interested in serving in AmeriCorps.
IPSL used to stand for the International Partnership for Service Learning. We are a founding organization in the service learning movement. Because service is at our core, that's a natural fit for AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps alums.
It's also really flexible because students can choose their own location of 16 countries that we have currently on offer. And each country is so different, so specific, and we help guide them to choose the one that's going to be really appropriate and effective for what they want to achieve.
But there were places like Afghanistan, I think, was one of them. Somewhere in South America, I think Costa Rica was one. Italy, Germany. There were so many different places to choose from. I ended up picking Vietnam because one of the people that I talked to through the school that I got the credits for in Vietnam, Westminster University was the school. He was saying that he had traveled to Vietnam and that it was one of the most beautiful places he had ever gone. He could not wait to go back, and it was very safe, which was a huge thing for me, especially being the age that I am, 20, and traveling alone and a woman. So I said, "Fine, you sold me. I'm in." And ended up going 6 months later. I was there most of July to the end of August.
So during this experience of IPSL, we want to give our listeners and our community members that are engaging in this podcast an idea of what is the program and what made you decide to go this route to use your Siegel Education Award?
I'll talk a little bit about how I decided that I would do it and then what that looked
Yeah.
like for me.
Perfect.
So when I first heard about it, I instantly thought, since I was bartending at the time, my thought was, when do I go? Because it sounds good. I just have to figure out logistics. I was originally thinking in the beginning of the school year, but with that, it wouldn't have lined up for me to go back this year. So I was upset about that and not sure what to do. But on the other hand, if I went in the summer, I would miss out on really good summer hours and good money with bartending. Plus, not putting that Siegel Award towards my schooling like you did.
One other thing you may want to know about the IPSL program is this.
We build in a lot of flexibility. There's 3 entry points. Participants or students who want to come to the grad program and are admitted can come in either January, April, or September. We call it spring, summer, fall. And that works with our people's lifestyles. We try to be flexible and responsive to the needs of people in their particular life. They can't get away at a certain particular time. Gotcha. So you had mentioned that you hadn't gone abroad or done anything like this before. So I can imagine that there's a time, and I'm going to compare it to some of the other interviews that I've had with other AmeriCorps alums who are working in an environment where they wouldn't necessarily find themselves on a regular basis. And then they suddenly see things through a different lens. Throughout your experience, when did you feel like you were seeing things differently where you're like, wow, I didn't even know that this experience existed?
That's such a good question because I've had so many moments of clarity even since then. Um, Genuinely, specifically, I know exactly when it happened. I was in a train station and we were going on a 19-hour train ride, but we were sitting in the train station with all my buddies of different cultures from Ireland, from Germany, from Spain, from Belgium. Just, we're all just people. And I saw this little kid crawling on her mom and pulling on her hair and folding her shirt and whatever. And I just thought, we're all just people. That was the biggest takeaway. And I maybe thought in my past that people of different cultures were wrong or just different because it wasn't my own. But
Mhm.
the biggest takeaway was that we're all just people. We're all just trying to find love and make money and care for our family, and that's it.
How did you dribble that through your service?
I grew up in a small town of mostly just white people. I think I graduated with like 2 people of color. And with that, I didn't really have, I wouldn't say I didn't have a closed mind, but I just didn't know. I didn't have the exposure. So in going out of the country, I was in the Vietnamese airport for the first time and I didn't see one white person. And I was like, oh, so I'm a minority. It was different. I've never felt that before. And with that realization of everybody's just doing their own thing and it's all the same, essentially, coming home and doing my student teaching labs and seeing all these different cultured kids, I'm like, you're just a kid. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing different about you. I mean, really, you're just doing your own thing in your own little way, and I'm here to teach you and help you and hold your hand. And that was big for me, being a teacher and having that exposure.
Well, and having that exposure too so early. I mean, I think are you 20 right now?
20, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your prefrontal cortex is not even completely complete yet, right? You're still growing. And we all can grow. We all can learn. Like we know now that the brain is very malleable and all you have to do is focus on what you want to change and then change it, right? We don't have to stay in. But to realize that so early is a gift because you have so much more time in the first quarter of your life to see this and then bring it into your experiences. So when you look back at your opportunity with IPSL, I know you mentioned that your father wasn't super fond, but kudos to dads who protect their babies. But who were some people that like made this possible for you? And then when you got to Vietnam, who were maybe some standout folks that supported you?
My mom and my boyfriend are probably my top supporters. My mom is always behind my back, and my stepdad too helps her a lot. And I think they're good for each other for me. She was the supporter before and after and throughout. And my boyfriend was the same way. He always talks about, yes, I want this for you. It's what you want. It'll be great for your future. And like I said earlier, for my resume. And when I was there, the same thing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad you're doing this. This is so good for you. And same with my mom. This is so good for you. I'm so happy for you. I'm proud of you. That really helped me feel good about everything. And I really felt like I had support the whole time, even when I was away from my family. And I made some friends there, and they were very supportive. And I still talk to them now, and they have my whole heart. I think about them all the time.
And who were the folks over in Vietnam that you had mentioned um before we hit recording that you were working with somebody that ended up being either a friend before or tell us a little bit about that relationship.
So when I got there, I didn't go with anybody, and I didn't know anybody when I got there. But that next morning, I think 2 different girls arrived, Pip from the Netherlands and Holly from Cambridge, UK. We were just tight, really close, and really fast. I ended up working with Pip, teaching at that school, and that was amazing because it really could have been anybody. And I don't know if she even applied for the teaching program, but they asked if she wanted to do it, and I encouraged her to. Hey, give it a shot, see if you like it. I'd love to do it with you. And we ended up doing it together, and it was just amazing. It was so fun. We home from work and went to the coffee shop and worked on lesson plans, and we walked to the print shop, and we walked back to the house and got caught. It was just all great, and it was really, really good. There's such nice people there. Really, really good people overall, everybody.
How are the students? Were they excited to learn a different language?
Yes. So the other people living in the house were 2 other people who were teaching before Pip and I were teaching together. They were from Scotland, I think. So they had a very thick, rich accent. And the other
Wow.
2 teachers were also from Scotland or Ireland, I think. So they had a different accent. It was really goofy to hear the kids say certain words. We'd have a Scottish accent or an Irish accent. It was just hilarious. When I talked about a Clark, they're used to hearing Clark or something just a little bit different. So it was just really interesting to hear that from them. But yeah, they were excited and they were good.
You went out to Vietnam and you took on this experience and you were there for, I think you said you guys finally said 4 weeks, and then you were able to take the credits back. And then what did you do? How was your leaving Vietnam? Because I can imagine you made some bonds and stuff. It sounds like the people that you worked with. How was it leaving? And then when you returned, how did you roll into your next experience? So what was it like leaving?
That made me cry. Leaving was very hard. I'd say the hardest part was the 24 hours of travel. But worth it. It was nice to come home, and my boyfriend picked me up from the airport, so that made me feel really comfortable and happy, and it was good to be home, but really hard to leave.
To wrap up this part of your story, what messages or inspirations do you want this community to know, just to take away from this conversation?
That's a really good question. I'd say overall, if you're thinking about doing something, but it's maybe a stretch, or maybe it might not work out, or maybe you might have to change some things around, make it work out, do it. Because the experience is worth everything, in my opinion, because money comes and goes, but experiences are forever, and pictures and people and connections and memories, those stay. And those are the most impactful, in my opinion, to my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will be to yours too.
We could literally do a mic drop right there. One last question about your experience in Vietnam. What was your favorite local food that you discovered was like, I love this?
Bún chả.
What is that?
So good. It's rice noodles, which is bún is what that means. And cha means chicken. But no, sorry, I think it's pork. So it's rice noodles and broth in a bowl, and a side of lettuce and mint. Sorry, I got the translation wrong. Bún chả is grilled something. I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't.
No.
Anyway, and noodles and lettuce. So you put it with your chopsticks all in this bowl of mint and lettuce, and the noodles and the grilled. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
If you're listening to this like on like iTunes and you're not, you go over to the YouTube, because Paige is like literally reliving eating this meal.
Seriously, it was.
And if you have recipes for what's it called? Bún chả? Bún chả. Drop them in the comments in YouTube so that we can see if we can. I think it's interesting that they added mints. Like that's
Also banh mi. Some people pronounce it banh mi, but it's actually banh mi. It's essentially a sandwich, but you order it from a street vendor, and it's a piece of bread. And actually, from the French-Cambodia War, the French brought their bread recipe to Vietnam, so they have like so good, such good bread. But they slice the bread in half, they grill whatever you want, and I usually did scrambled eggs, and I put shredded carrot and lettuce and mayo in that bread, and it was just incredible. Incredible.
wow.
Yeah.
Folks, if you've made it this far and you're listening and you are an AmeriCorps alum and you haven't used your Seagull Education Award, I highly recommend you getting in touch with the IPSL folks, and all of the information will be in the show notes in the description down below. I highly recommend it. I almost want to do another AmeriCorps year just so I can take the education award and use it towards something like this. So Paige, as we wrap up, any last thoughts or anything that you want our community to hear, know, think about?
I don't think I have anything off the top of my head, but I'm happy and proud to have done this. It was an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
This was great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And for those of you who have made it this far, please, obviously you like the podcast. So if you're on YouTube, subscribe, share, comment.